Hey folks, welcome back to Horsemanship 101. I want to talk about something today. Involves the examples that get set, both good and bad, by ourselves and others. Examples that we see and examples that we set that others see. And I'm big on safety, and it has a lot to do with safety because I think that bad examples get a lot of people hurt. And I've even been guilty of it, and I'm going to get into that in a minute too. But one of the things I talked about was in a previous video was, things like standing on the back of your horse and crawling on your horse. Now, I don't bother doing that. I don't think it's really there's a good point to it, but whether or not you do it is kind of irrelevant. My concern is that if somebody sees you doing it, you could be setting a very bad example, because a lot of people also like to take videos of stuff like that and post it on YouTube. Other people watch it. They think, oh, that's kind of cool. I want to go home and do it with my horse. And they try it out, and they end up getting hurt. The horse takes off out from under them, and the head ends up going, the feet go out from under them, the head goes down 10 to 12 feet, hits the ground, they get hurt, they crawl underneath, they get stepped on, kicked, something happens, they get hurt. Why? Because we set a bad example. They saw only part of the story. They saw the example that we set, that we do this with our horse, so well, they can do that with theirs. And they don't realize how many hours of time it takes to prepare both yourself and the horse to do the things that you're doing, and they get some hurt because they aren't seeing the whole picture. Perfect example, I did it myself. I didn't even realize until I started thinking about doing this video. I'd done it myself. One of my previous videos, I walked up to my horse, grabbed her by the tail, and I made her back up by grabbing her by the tail. Now, what you don't know in that video, if you go home and try that on a horse, you might get yourself kicked. And even a small horse like this, one kick can be hard enough to kill a human. So, huge safety issue there. And horses get a bad rap for being dangerous animals. Horsemanship in general is dangerous, being around horses. Very untrue, very unjustified. Yes, people get hurt, but it's because they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand the animal. Horses themselves are actually quite benign animals. They're very gentle. They aren't going to hurt you unless they have a darn good reason to. Okay, back to I pulled on her tail. Don't try that if you don't know what you're doing, because, and I'm bad. That was my fault. I set a bad example there because I didn't explain to people that, first off, I've had this horse for over 3 years now. I didn't work with her all that time. I probably put in, somewhere between 6 months and a year into her. And, well over 1,000 hours before I ever tried doing something like that. She was trained to do that. That's just not something you randomly do. You don't just walk up the horse and grab it by the tail. So that was a bad example, Other thing that I didn't explain in that one is when I do something like that, I don't ambush her. I don't just sneak up on her while she's napping, grab her tail, because if she wakes up with something pulling on her tail, she's not going to think about it. She's just going to react, and she's going to kick. I'd get hurt if I didn't do it right. I'm paying attention. I'm looking at her. I'm watching to see whether or not she's watching me, or if she's awake, if she's paying attention. And with this little girl, even when it doesn't look like she is, she actually is very much paying attention to every single thing I'm doing. She's not a dummy. But, that's just an example of setting a bad example. I did it. We all do it. Parents do it with their kids. They got their kid out with them. The kid sees mom and dad, going up, hugging the horse, patting the horse up, no big deal. They figure, oh, if they can do it, I can. So all of a sudden you get this little toddler, comes running up, screaming and yelling, ah! Well, did you see what just happened there? Now this is a really calm, well-trained horse. She's used to me. She knows me. Now, some little toddler comes running up, the horse doesn't even know. If that horse happens to be tied at the time, you've taken away its ability to run away like she just did. So what's the horse going to do? The only other thing it can do, it's either going to bite or kick. The little kid probably can't reach the neck to hug it, so it's going to grab its leg. Well, that's even worse yet. All the horse sees is this wild little critter with flailing limbs and making lots of noise, comes running at it fast, and it feels it's in danger. The horse attacks. It's not the horse's fault. It's not the kid's fault. The parents set a bad example. They didn't even realize they were doing it, though, but it happens. You can own a horse for 6 months, or you could have horses around your whole life. It really doesn't matter. There's always somebody that knows less that you could be setting a bad example for. You could have your buddy come out to the barn with you and, see you patting up your horse. Same exact scenario as the kid, figures, well, if you can do it, I can do it. Go running up to the horse. And if they don't know how to approach the horse properly, bad things will happen. Same thing as they could turn around and see another horse walking by, not realize that not all horses are the same. The other horse happens to be semi-feral, hasn't been handled much. They approach it. The horse goes, "What the heck are you doing? I don't even know you." And bang, you got another injury on your hand. Bad example set. Okay, we all do it. We got to be careful of the examples that we do set. The flip side of that one is other people set bad examples too. Don't feel really bad about the fact that you set a bad example, because some of the best do it. And a perfect example is these colt starting competitions. These are big name trainers, clinicians, guys that do it for a living. Now, there's a little more to the picture too, because they are professionals, they do it for a living, that's their job, their career, it's all about money. They take part in these events for the exposure, to get more business, to give themselves credibility, saying, look what I can do. They're basically showing off is what they're doing. They're getting their name out there. It's good for business, makes some more money. But in reality, trying to ride a horse after 2 days is absolutely ludicrous. And any one of those guys will tell you that too, that, don't expect to do that. Take your time, and those horses have got horrible holes in their training. They skip a lot of things. They rush it all. They're also working with 2-year-olds that I don't think that they should be started that young. Most of them will agree. Some of them still think it's okay to start 2-year-olds, but that's pretty much irrelevant. But they're not skeletally mature until about 6. But they set a bad example. So what happens? Somebody watches this thing. It's great. They see, 2 days and the guy's on the horse's back. So they go home, try the same thing, and they get hurt. Because, for one thing, these guys, some of them have got some amazing skills. I mean, these are not amateurs. These are the best of the best you see in these competitions. They know what they're doing, and even those guys have bad days and end up getting tossed on the ground when they're trying to get on these horses. So it's not not something that they should be doing. You don't know the skill level these guys got, and even they'll admit that what they're doing is actually wrong. So don't try it. Another way that can be a bad example is, somebody figures, well, geez, if this guy can do it in, 24 hours, okay, I don't have the skill level he's got, but hey, I should still be able to do it within like 2 weeks maybe. And same thing again. You end up with a wreck on your hands. Somebody gets hurt. The horse gets scared, freaked out. Damage is done to the horse and the trainer. The human has to, if they recover without long-term injuries, they have to go back, restart the horse right from scratch, undo the damage done because of the bad experience the horse just had, throughout the whole thing. And, it's going to end up costing time, money, injuries, pain, suffering. Another scenario of that is, they might go home and think, well, geez, I'm paying somebody else to train my horse, but if this guy can do it in 2 days, well, my trainer doesn't need to be taken, 30, 60, or 90 days to do it, and all of a sudden the trainer's being forced to do something that, by the demand of the human, that they aren't capable of doing properly, and you take the horse home and it's half trained, and again, you end up with a wreck on your hands. So be conscious of the example that you set, and be conscious of the example that other people set. There's always a lot more behind what you initially see in the example that you see. Don't think just because somebody else can do it that it's okay for you to do it, because there may be a whole lot more to the story. You might not realize that the horse they're doing it with is 20 years old, dead, broke, and they've been doing that same stunt for 10 years. You don't know. So please be very cautious, be very aware of the example that you set for others. It's kind of like they said about leadership. There's a saying, lead by example. And that's, so be very careful of the example that you're setting, because it can get a lot of people hurt. And I don't like to see people get hurt around horses, because it gives horses a bad reputation, and they really don't deserve it, because as you can see, this sweet, gentle little girl isn't going to hurt a flea. So please be wary of examples, and it'll keep everybody safe. Have a good day, folks.